The room froze when Andrei said he had already filed for divorce. No yelling, no warning. One sentence and everything snapped. Elizabeth tried to breathe and failed. Her hands shook. Her body gave out before her words did. Cameras kept rolling while a marriage collapsed in real time. This was not a stunt. This was not noise. This was a decision carried out under studio lights, with no way back. You could feel the shift. This episode did not chase drama. It delivered damage. The kind that leaves marks long after applause fades. Andrei looked calm, which felt louder than anger. Elizabeth looked blindsided, which felt dangerous. Everyone on stage knew they were watching something irreversible, and here is the part nobody expected. The divorce was only the first crack, and what came next tore through another marriage entirely. Before this night, Andrei and Elizabeth were already walking on cracked ground. You have seen it for years. Family dinners turning into courtrooms. Side comments landing like punches. Elizabeth stuck in the middle playing translator, referee, peacekeeper, and spouse all at once. Andrei fighting for respect while feeling outnumbered in his own marriage. It never looked calm. It looked managed. Publicly, they argued. Loudly, repeatedly. Privately, resentment stacked up quietly. Every time Andrei felt dismissed by her family, something hardened. Every time Elizabeth tried to smooth things over, something slipped. You could laugh at the chaos, because sometimes it was absurd. Grown adults arguing over birthday parties. Business deals explained halfway. Money conversations stopping mid-sentence. You know the pattern. We all do. Nothing ever finished. Everything rolled forward unresolved. And the wild part. This couple survived storms that broke others. They survived screaming matches. They survived group pile-ons. They survived seasons where fans picked sides like sports teams. So when the tell-all came around, expectations were low and loud. Another reunion. More noise. More interruptions. More finger-pointing. Same cycle, new couch. That is what everyone walked in expecting. Including the cast, including the host, including viewers at home who queued snacks and prepared for background chaos. Nobody expected an ending. Nobody expected paperwork energy. Nobody expected a man who already checked out emotionally. The studio felt different before anyone spoke. Andrei did not lean forward. He did not interrupt. He did not smirk. He sat back. Quiet. Still. That alone felt wrong. This was the guy who usually filled the room. Now he barely occupied space. Elizabeth tried to smile, but her body gave her away. Hands moving. Shoulders tight, she sensed the shift even if she did not understand it yet. Pay attention to this silence. Because calm does not mean peace. And this calm was the warning sign nobody wanted to read. Calm is scarier than yelling. Yelling wants a reaction. Calm means a decision already happened. Elizabeth did not explode. She folded. Her breath went shallow first. You could see her chest moving too fast, like her body was running without her. Her eyes lost focus. She tried to speak and nothing came out. One hand pressed against her chest. Not for drama, but for balance. Then her legs stopped cooperating. She stood up too fast. The chair scraped, and suddenly she was not part of a reunion anymore. She was in survival mode. This was not crying for sympathy. This was loss of control. When your brain realizes the story you thought you were living is over, and your body finds out before your mouth does. She kept saying she could not breathe. She was not asking for attention. She was asking for air. The room froze again, but this time it was different. Silence mixed with discomfort. Nobody knew where to look. Cameras followed anyway. When narrative ownership disappears, panic fills the gap. For years, Elizabeth managed the story. She explained Andrei. She softened edges. She absorbed pressure from both sides. In one sentence, she lost control of all of it. Her marriage ended. Her timeline shattered. Her private pain turned into public footage. That kind of shock does not stay emotional. It goes physical. Empathy matters here. Watching someone break down is not entertainment. At the same time, accountability still exists. This marriage did not collapse out of nowhere. Elizabeth ignored warning signs. She delayed hard choices. She tried to keep peace instead of drawing lines. That does not make her weak, it makes her human. But avoidance always sends the bill later. What made this moment unbearable was the lack of pause. No reset. No privacy. She did not get a quiet room to process before millions saw her unravel. Pain became content. Vulnerability became replayable. This was the second everything crossed a line. Because shock is one thing, but watching a body shut down on camera is something else entirely. Back on stage, people shifted in their seats. Some looked shaken. Some looked guilty for watching. And the cameras stayed close. Tight shots. No mercy. Which brings up the question nobody on that stage asked out loud. When pain turns physical, when breathing breaks and control slips, why do the cameras never stop? Elizabeth did not explode. She folded. Her breath went shallow first. You could see her chest moving too fast, like her body was running without her. Her eyes lost focus. She tried to speak and nothing came out. One hand pressed against her chest, not for drama, but for balance. Then her legs stopped cooperating. She stood up too fast. The chair scraped. And suddenly she was not part of a reunion anymore. She was in survival mode. This was not crying for sympathy. This was loss of control. When your brain realizes the story you thought you were living is over, and your body finds out before your mouth does. She kept saying she could not breathe. She was not asking for attention. She was asking for air. The room froze again, but this time it was different. Silence mixed with discomfort. Nobody knew where to look. Cameras followed anyway. When narrative ownership disappears, panic fills the gap. For years, Elizabeth managed the story. She explained Andrei. She softened edges. She absorbed pressure from both sides. In one sentence, she lost control of all of it. Her marriage ended. Her timeline shattered. Her private pain turned into public footage. That kind of shock does not stay emotional. It goes physical. Empathy matters here. Watching someone break down is not entertainment. At the same time, accountability still exists. This marriage did not collapse out of nowhere. Elizabeth ignored warning signs. She delayed hard choices. She tried to keep peace instead of drawing lines. That does not make her weak. It makes her human. But avoidance always sends the bill later. What made this moment unbearable was the lack of pause. No reset. No privacy. She did not get a quiet room to process before millions saw her unravel. Pain became content. Vulnerability became replayable. This was the second everything crossed a line. Because shock is one thing, but watching a body shut down on camera is something else entirely. Back on stage, people shifted in their seats. Some looked shaken. Some looked guilty for watching. And the cameras stayed close. Tight shots. No mercy. Which brings up the question nobody on that stage asked out loud. When pain turns physical, when breathing breaks and control slips, why do the cameras never stop? When Elizabeth left the stage, the air changed. The noise drained out. Cast members stopped jumping in. Jokes died mid-thought. The host looked stuck, flipping cards that suddenly meant nothing. This was not a moment built for banter. This was the kind of silence people feel in elevators after bad news. Everyone sensed the line had moved. Some cast members leaned forward, unsure whether to comfort or confront. Others stared straight ahead, not wanting to be pulled into something raw. The host tried to regain control, but control was gone. You cannot steer a conversation once reality takes the wheel. What followed was not chaos, it was discomfort. And discomfort is harder to edit. Andrei did not chase Elizabeth backstage. He stayed seated, calm, still. When he spoke again, his tone stayed flat. No insults, no shouting. He laid out his grievances like a list he memorized long ago. Years of family interference, feeling dismissed at every turn, being framed as the problem no matter the context. He talked about losing respect, not just from Elizabeth's family, but from the process itself. He felt erased inside his own marriage. There is truth inside that frustration. Constant outside pressure can hollow a relationship. Being labeled the villain over and over can harden anyone. Feeling unheard changes how people fight. It changes how they leave. But here is where sympathy has to slow down, because understanding pain does not excuse the way it gets delivered. Public harm still counts as harm. Choosing exposure over conversation still leaves wreckage. Ending a marriage live does not become noble because resentment was real. It becomes final. And final cuts deep in places no apology can reach. Andrei framed his choice as the only way out. No more back and forth. No more negotiation. No more explaining himself to a room full of voices. In his mind, this was clarity. In Elizabeth's body, it was collapse. Both things can exist at the same time. Then something subtle happened. Andrei stopped talking about Elizabeth. He turned his focus elsewhere. His eyes shifted. His energy moved across the stage. Whatever connection remained between them dissolved in that moment. That turn mattered, because when someone redirects attention that fast, it signals the ending already happened long before anyone else noticed. And that redirection set off the next explosion no one saw coming. The focus shifted, and the damage spread. Andrei turned toward Jovi and dropped a claim that did not belong to him alone. He said Jovi had talked about divorce off camera. The room reacted before anyone spoke. This was no longer one marriage breaking. This was truth spilling sideways. Collateral truth never lands clean. It hits everyone standing nearby. Jovi froze. He did not laugh it off. He did not shut it down fast. That pause did more harm than shouting ever could. Yara felt it instantly. Her face changed. Her posture collapsed inward. Tears came fast. Not loud. Not performative. This was not about embarrassment. This was fear coming to the surface. She spoke about feeling watched all the time. Judged by strangers. Measured by comments. Compared to versions of herself from years ago. She talked about aging. About pressure to stay desirable. About wondering whether she still mattered to the person sitting next to her. Those words landed hard because they were quiet. This was the moment many viewers stopped watching for drama and started watching for themselves. Relational doubt does not need proof to grow. It only needs hesitation. An insult can be dismissed. A fight can be repaired. Hesitation lives longer. It whispers. It turns neutral moments into warning signs. A delayed response. A distracted look. Silence where reassurance should be. Once doubt enters, everything replays through a new filter. Jovi tried to explain. He said he vented. He said stress talks sound heavier than they are. Maybe that is true. Venting happens. Frustration happens. But context matters. And timing matters. And public exposure changes meaning. Words spoken privately carry a different weight when dragged under studio lights. Yara did not accuse. She withdrew. That was the shift. Her body language closed. Trust did not explode. It cracked. And cracks spread quietly. This is where things get dangerous. Because doubt does not announce itself. It settles in and rearranges how love feels. The seed was planted. No amount of backtracking could pull it out clean. From that point on, reassurance needed to work harder. Silence needed to explain itself. The marriage moved into a new phase without consent. And the hardest part. This damage did not come from betrayal. It came from exposure. Someone else's truth landing in the wrong place at the wrong time. Once that happens, no one leaves untouched. The reaction did not wait for the credits. Phones lit up while the episode was still airing. Clips spread fast. Opinions hardened faster. Half the audience praised Andrei for saying what others never would. They called it honesty. They called it courage. They said staying in a marriage without respect hurts more than leaving loudly. The other half saw cruelty. A man choosing the most public exit possible. A woman left to process shock under bright lights. Same footage. Two opposite readings. Elizabeth became a symbol overnight. Some viewers wrapped her in empathy. Others questioned her choices. Why stay so long? Why ignore signs? Yara's tears hit a nerve across timelines. People recognized themselves in her fears. Aging. Comparison. Wondering if love stays once novelty fades. Jovi took heat from both sides. Silence framed as guilt. Explanations framed as excuses. No one escaped judgment. This is the uncomfortable pull of reality television. You feel disturbed watching someone break. You also cannot look away. It scratches curiosity and empathy at the same time. Viewers want truth. They flinch when truth hurts too much. Both feelings live together. If you felt wrong for watching and still kept watching, you were not alone. The franchise sits in the middle of that tension. It did not invent these problems. These marriages existed before cameras. Yet the format rewards exposure. It pushes moments until they snap. Not out of malice. Out of momentum. Episodes need stakes. Tell-alls need moments. The line between observation and pressure blurs when ratings depend on reaction. Producers faced backlash. Fans questioned ethics. Think pieces popped up. At the same time, numbers climbed. Engagement spiked. Clips replayed everywhere. This is the contradiction no one likes admitting. The messier it feels, the more people tune in. Outrage did not slow viewership. Discomfort did not push people away. It pulled them closer. That is the tension driving this franchise forward. Moral concern rising at the same pace as ratings, with no easy exit for anyone involved. And once success proves pain keeps attention, stopping becomes harder than starting. After the cameras stopped rolling, the chaos did not end. Elizabeth did not return to a hotel room with quiet. She isolated herself among producers and staff, replaying every moment in her head. Every word, every glance, every pause that had hinted at what was coming. She was not crying for attention. She was processing a loss that had already been scripted for millions to see. Andrei, on the other hand, sat apart. Detached. Not pacing, not ranting, not showing signs of anger. His calm was not peace. It was emotional checkout. He had left the marriage long before the paperwork hit the stage. And emotional checkout feels different from relief. Relief lets you breathe again. Checkout removes breath altogether, leaving space for nothing but the consequences of your choices. This is where reality TV accelerates collapse. There is no room to repair. No quiet corners to talk, no late-night conversations to untangle misunderstandings. Every thought, every decision, every breakdown is captured, framed, and sometimes amplified. What might have been a contained argument or a hard conversation becomes a public record of emotional damage. Meanwhile, romance becomes paperwork. Promises of forever transform into divorce filings and custody discussions. Conversations about love and loyalty are replaced by logistics. Property division. Legal signatures. Emotional distance solidifies into contracts and deadlines. The intimacy that once fueled their story is replaced by the stark realities of ending it in public. By the time the cameras left, there was no turning back. The narrative had been taken out of their hands, and private pain had become permanent. Legal reality had stepped in where romance once lived. Weeks later, the changes settled in quietly but relentlessly. Elizabeth no longer had her role as mediator, the one who smoothed conflicts between Andrei and her family. That part of her identity vanished overnight. She could no longer justify, negotiate, or soften. She was left facing herself. Every decision, every thought, felt heavier. The version of her that thrived on control through compromise no longer existed. Andrei lost his fight too. The man who once argued, pushed back, and demanded to be heard, now moved through life without the energy to battle. Calm and detached, yes, but also empty in ways the cameras cannot capture. Power may have shifted, but it came with isolation. Strength felt hollow when the world was watching but no one was listening. Yara, meanwhile, could not return to certainty. Doubt, once planted by Andrei's offhand claim, festered. Even small interactions became tests, and smiles felt tentative. She learned that hesitation in love can hurt more than betrayal because it rewrites trust in slow, quiet ways. This is relational trauma. It is the weight of exposure, doubt and loss layered over years of unresolved tension. Simple moments feel threatening. Simple conversations feel like judgment. These are cracks reality TV captures and freezes in time. Healing takes time, reflection, and space. And reality TV never pauses for that. The cameras move on, the episodes end, but the emotional work continues long after the spotlight fades. By the end of the Tell All, nothing looked the same. Every thread of tension, from Andrei's divorce filing to Yara's tearful withdrawal, connected in ways viewers could not ignore. The room that once felt like a stage for drama became a mirror for real consequences. Past arguments, private resentments, and hidden insecurities all collided under the glare of cameras. This episode shifted the franchise's tone. Loud fights and exaggerated shouting no longer dominated the emotional weight. Instead, exposure replaced spectacle. Viewers could feel the cost of being watched. The danger of private pain turned permanent content. Social media buzzed differently. People paused clips, replayed reactions, and discussed not who yelled the loudest, but who broke the quietest. The emotional pull was heavier, sharper, more personal. Every character changed. Elizabeth faced herself without her mediator role. Andrei navigated calm that hid detachment. Yara measured every interaction with doubt lurking beneath. The audience saw fractures forming in real time. Stakes were no longer about ratings or entertainment. They were about trust, identity, and what it means to survive exposure. This episode did not offer closure. There was no tidy resolution or final reconciliation. What it offered was clarity. Brutal, public, and irreversible clarity. Viewers felt it in their stomachs because they were witnessing consequences still unfolding. And if you think the fallout ends here, wait until the next episode, where alliances shift, secrets resurface, and one decision could rewrite everything we thought we knew about this season.